Hi, this is Sally's Book Talk, daily book insights, all the best reads curated just for you. In the previous episode, we explored the era Han Fei lived in and his experiences, understanding the formative background of his philosophy. After addressing our first question about Han Fei's historical context, we now delve into his governance principles. Han Fei advocated for absolute monarchy supported by three pillars: Fa, codified laws; Shu, tactical statecraft; and Shi, imperial authority. But do these three pillars guarantee worry-free governance? Upon closer examination, we find a critical flaw in Han Fei's theory: the ruler's personal limitations. Why is that? Effective implementation of Fa, Shu, and Shi demands exceptional qualities from the ruler. First, the ruler must maintain absolute impartiality. Favorite concubines, sons, or ministers breaking laws cannot receive leniency. Conversely, disliked individuals earning merit must be rewarded. When appointing officials, one must recommend qualified candidates regardless of personal relationships. Appoint family without nepotism, enemies without prejudice. After King Wu of Zhao's death, his brothers Guanshu and Kaishu colluded with Shang remnants to rebel. Their brother, Duke of Zhao, decisively suppressed the rebellion. Guanshu was executed while Kaishu was exiled. Despite blood relations, Duke of Zhao showed no mercy. Why? Because they harmed the nation and violated laws. Han Fei insisted on legal equality. Rulers must neither reward favorites nor punish adversaries arbitrarily, lest they endanger the state. Secondly, rulers must conceal personal preferences, maintaining an inscrutable demeanor. Han Fei warned that revealed preferences let subjects manipulate rulers through flattery. Over time, this erodes sovereign control. Duke Huan of Qi once mused he'd tasted all delicacies except human flesh. Chef Yi Ya interpreted this as a royal command, cooking his own son. Another minister named Shu Diao demonstrated loyalty by self-castration to become a eunuch. These actions by Yi Ya and Shu Diao gained Duke Huan's trust, granting them significant power. What was the outcome? When Duke Huan fell ill, Yi Ya and Shu Diao besieged the palace, expelled the crown prince, and installed Prince Wu Gui. Duke Huan starved to death, his corpse left unattended for weeks, while Qi descended into chaos. Thirdly, rulers must resist indulgence, an extension of previous principles. If the ruler enjoys dance and wine, ministers will supply dancers and fine wines. If the ruler favors grand architecture, ministers will launch massive projects, leading to neglected governance and power shifts. Fourthly, the ruler must retain absolute control over rewards and punishments. Han Fei questioned, ministers aren't the ruler's sons. Why would they serve loyally? It's all driven by self-interest. Thus, control over incentives means control over people. This power must remain with the ruler, lest ministers gain control. This demands constant vigilance, observing subjects' actions to determine rewards or punishments. Ultimately, meeting Han Fei's standards proves extraordinarily difficult for rulers. They wield absolute power yet must exercise restraint. They must enforce meritocracy, ignoring personal favors and nepotism. They must suppress desires, eschewing luxuries and grand constructions. Constant vigilance against usurpers becomes mandatory. To achieve goals, first utilize FA, making subjects feel bound by law. When insufficient, apply Shu, but with extreme caution. Subjects should unconsciously fulfill the ruler's will without perceiving manipulation. Thus, achieving the ruler appears inactive while ministers tremble below. Outwardly passive, yet ministers diligently fulfill duties. Legalism's ideal governance. Only then do we fully answer our second question. The trio of Fa, Shu, and Shi, monarchical tools, still require near-perfect rulers to achieve ideal governance. But does such a perfect ruler truly exist? Han Fei himself seems skeptical. He warned, fail these standards and risk losing power, national decline, or catastrophic collapse. Doesn't that terrify you? If you fear that, better heed my advice. Yet mere warnings can't outweigh power's temptations. How can rulers restrain themselves? Truth is, abusing power brings immediate rewards while disasters loom distantly. Most rulers inevitably succumb to temptation. Take Qin Shi Huang, pre-unification, he ruled diligently by law. Post-unification, he toured extensively, launched massive projects like Ipan Palace and the Great Wall. He pursued immortality alchemy and mishandled succession planning. Exiling heir Fusu created power vacuum upon his death. Zhao Gao and Li Si forged edicts forcing Fusu's suicide and installing Hu Hai. Though Qin studied Han Feizi's works and admired his theories, even this legalism adherent failed Han Fei's standards in later years. He committed precisely the errors Han Fei warned against. Let's examine Emperor Taizong and Kangxi, considered model rulers. Both succumbed to luxury and succession crises in old age. If even these paragons failed, how could lesser rulers succeed? Thus, the perfect legalist ruler remains theoretical. Yet, Han Fei's Fascishi framework illuminated autocratic governance. Hence, we call Han Fei the master architect of 2 millennia of imperial rule. And now we address our third question. What legacy did Han Fei leave? While the Qin dynasty embraced legalism, including Han Fei's theories, its brief reign ended in rebellion. The Han rulers concluded Qin's harsh laws caused its downfall. Learning from this lesson, early Han implemented recovery policies, rejecting legalism as too brutal. Emperor Wu institutionalized Confucianism as state doctrine through Don Zhongshu's proposal. The imperial examination system matured through Tang Song to Ming Qing, testing Confucian classics. Scholars mastering Confucian texts ensured legalism's secondary status. Though less influential than Confucius and Mencius, legalism survived unlike Mohism. Rulers secretly studied legalist texts for governance techniques. Let's examine historical cases. Emperor Swan of Han employed legalist methods to control officials and reform. When the crown prince criticized harsh laws and advocated Confucianism, the emperor rebuked him. Han combines coercive and benevolent governance, never pure kindness. This coercive governance embodied legalist principles. Liu Bei of Three Kingdoms fame projected Confucian benevolence publicly. Yet his will to Lushan listed legalist texts, Guanzi, Shengjinshu, Han Feizi. This reveals his pragmatic understanding. Governance requires legalist realism. Emperor Shenzong of Song broke from scholarly stereotypes to revive legalism. His Han Feizi's studies aimed to reverse Song's military and economic decline. He appointed legalist-influenced Wang Anshi for radical reforms. Thus, Han Fei's theories endured through dynasties. What lessons did rulers extract from Han Feizi? Let's examine both positive and negative impacts, starting with the beneficial aspects. First, advocating centralization over feudalism. Han Fei viewed Zhou-style enfeoffment as regressive, enabling power consolidation that breeds disaster, advocating prefectual system instead. History confirmed Han Fei's assessment. Early Han's feudal kingdoms like Wu and Chu threatened central authority, culminating in Seven Kingdoms Rebellion under Emperor Jing. Ming founder Zhu Yuanzhang's princely grants led to Yongli Emperor's usurpation after his death. Second, promoting rule of law over rule of man. Han Fei insisted laws transcend personal relationships, forbidding subjective enforcement. Thus, he vehemently opposed human-centered governance. He maintained all must obey published laws, nobles to commoners alike. Strong law enforcement strengthens nations, weak enforcement weakens them. Law-abiding officials strengthen states, corrupt ones invite decline. These principles proved crucial during chaotic periods. Three Kingdoms leaders like Cao Cao and Zhu Zhiliang embraced legalism. Zhu Zhiliang established strict meritocracy. In Shu, combating factionalism through impartial laws. Violators faced punishment regardless of status. Most famously, Ma Su's execution after losing Jiting, tears streaming down his face. Ma Su, Zhuge Liang's trusted strategist. Military law mandated execution for losing strategic positions. Despite appeals, Zhu Jie enforced the law impartially. This legal rigor maintained Shu's stability during his lifetime. Third, challenging Confucian ideological monopoly. Han Fei directly opposed Confucian prioritization of human relationships over law. Confucius advocated familial concealment of crimes. Imperial examinations solidified Confucian dominance. From officials to peasants, Confucian relational thinking permeated society. This created a Guanxi-based society where connections trump rules. But actual legal provisions become secondary in such a system. Fortunately, legalist works like Han Feizi survived, offering alternative governance philosophies. Thus, historical reformers seeking Confucian alternatives frequently turn to Han Fei. Ming thinker Li Ji criticized Confucian classics while praising Han Fei's rational critiques. Fourth, advocating reform over conservatism. Living through warring states' turmoil, Han Fei advocated adaptive governance. He rejected rigid traditions, urging systemic reforms matching contemporary needs. This directly countered Confucian restoration ideals. Confucians idealized Yao Xun-era governance and Zhou riddles. Han Fei retorted, changed eras demand changed methods. Wise rulers study current realities, not nostalgically cling to past practices. He satirized conservatives through the famous parable, waiting by the stump for rabbits. Han Fei understood reforms inevitably provoke vested interests. The reformers need courage to withstand slander and isolation. This progressive spirit inspired later reformers like Huainanshi. Wang's famous declaration, "Fear not celestial signs, nor blindly follow ancestors." Public opinion shouldn't hinder necessary changes. Now examining legalism's negative impacts. First, over-centralization without checks. Though warning against power abuse, Han Fei proposed no institutional constraints. Ultimately, restraint depended solely on the ruler's will. No mechanisms existed to prevent or correct tyrannical rule. Absolute power inevitable breeds corruption and cruelty. Second, promoting political manipulation and fostering conspiracies. Han Fei advocated using shu tactics when laws proved insufficient. Though he claimed tactics should supplement laws sparingly, rulers frequently abused these covert manipulation methods. Unlike transparent laws, tactics allowed secret control without legal constraints. Scholars thus describe imperial rule as Confucian facade, legalist core. Third, advocating draconian laws violating human nature. While harsh laws stabilized warring states' chaos, Han Fei's theory crossed into oppressive paranoia. He envisioned perpetual tension between rulers and ministers. Constant suspicion and repression ultimately bred rebellion. Fourth, opposing moral values, persecuting intellectuals. Han Fei viewed profit-seeking as human nature for manipulation, but moral intellectuals threatened this control mechanism. She labeled them social parasites needing elimination. Fifth, anti-commercial bias hindering economic development. Paradoxically opposing merchants despite valuing self-interest. Explanation: merchant profits conflicted with state interests. Warring states required military mobilization, not commerce. Commercial mobility threatened wartime control systems. Merchants became parasites like intellectuals in his view. Han Fei's ideas strongly appealed to rulers. For over 2 millennia thereafter, rulers suppressed merchants through social stratification, keeping commerce subordinate to politics. Having explored Han Fei's legacy, let's discuss recommended editions of Han Feizi. I recommend Phoenix Publishing House's revised annotated edition of Han Feizi, edited by scholar Zhou Xunchu since 1977 with 2009 updates. Each chapter includes introductory analysis, annotations, and modern Chinese translations. The appendix features Shou's essay detailing his decades-long research journey. Thus, Phoenix's edition remains the best choice for general readers. This concludes our exploration of Han Feizi. On keynotes below the audio. Until tomorrow,